Good morning, all, and thank you so much for joining us here this morning. I want to take a moment out to welcome a former president back to his former residence. It's not every day you get the chance to do that, but President Clinton, welcome back. It's good to have you here today. And I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to use a story that you told one time about the importance of what we're celebrating today, and that is the 30th anniversary of the Family Medical Leave Act. You know, before that time, families were kind of forced to make a decision of whether to work or care for a loved one. It's a hard decision to make. You got to keep food on the table, and you've got to take care of a loved one who's in need of help. President Clinton tells a story. Again, I hope you don't mind if I tell this story. That one morning, one Sunday morning, he was out running, hopefully on the White House track. I know there was a time when you came in office, that track wasn't quite finished, and you were out running around the streets of D.C. But needless to say, he had just finished his run, and he was going to go upstairs, clean up, and get ready to go over to church. He ran into a young staffer who was taking a child through the White House. And he ran up to them and said, "Hey, I want to greet you properly. Will you allow me some time to go upstairs? I'm going to shower, change. I'll be back down." And then he asked his aide to take this other staffer and the young child to the Oval Office. And he went, changed, came down, gave him the 2-minute tour, as we've done so many times in the Oval Office. Took a picture, and as they're walking across the South Lawn, this person mentioned to President Clinton, "You know, my young girl's not going to make it much longer, and I don't know what I would have done without FMLA. These last few months of her life have meant so much to me." And so, when we come to this podium, we talk about all the bills and acts that we're going to pursue here in Congress. It's the real stories of the people affected by the work that we do in our nation's capital. Oftentimes you get up here and you get blinded. You and I hate saying this, but you lose sight of where you came from. That's why it's important. President Bush 43, that's why it was important for him to have constant reminders of where he came from. In his Oval Office, he had every painting in the Oval Office, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, were all of Texas artists. And that served as a constant reminder of where he came from and where he's going to go. But, until you hear the real stories behind these acts that you put a pen to and sign into law, you don't realize the impact it has. Another story, and I really hate taking all these stories, but President Clinton talks about the first time he was on a commercial aircraft right after leaving the White House. And I can imagine that has got to be a shock to go from getting on Air Force One out at Andrews to getting on a commercial aircraft. Well, he was on the shuttle between New York and Washington, and he was speaking to a flight attendant. The flight attendant came up to him and said, "May I speak to you?" He said, "Absolutely." He goes, "I just want to tell you, my husband's a big fan of yours. He's a jazz musician. He plays the sax. He loves your music, and he looks up to you. I'm not such a big fan." And people were kind of, he was kind of like, "Okay." But she said, the flight attendant said, It wasn't until you signed that Family Medical Leave Act that it really made an impact. And she went on to tell the story about how she had a dying family member, and between her job, her husband's job, they weren't sure how they were going to take care of this family member. But it was because of FMLA that they were able to do that. And now, again, that's just the stories, the stories that you hear. That's what makes this this so special today. You know, since it was first enacted, it's been used 400 million times in 30 years. 400 million times in 30 years. That's incredible. It's incredible. And so today it is definitely a day of celebration as we commemorate the 30th anniversary of this great act by President Clinton. And by the way, I don't want to leave out. I did mention President Clinton. I don't want to leave out former Senator Dodd as well. He was instrumental as well in getting this act through Congress. And again, I don't want to miss introducing anybody, but I do want to thank you so much for coming out today to help celebrate this significant day in our history. And again, I think it's important that we think about and we listen to the stories of the people impacted by our acts. You know, like I said, oftentimes we'll vote on bills, we'll sit at desks, we'll sign bills into law, but it's till we hear the real stories of the people impacted do we realize the impact it's had on the American people. And bottom line, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.